Deeks. Deeks.com was a website for promotional games centered around Dairy Queen mascots called Deeks, who were anthropomorphic soft serves. The player could create their own and generate points by doing certain tasks that would yield real-world prizes, including Dairy Queen coupons. In 2013, this format was changed and replaced with a set of flash games the user could play. While it's needless to say that the user's progress was completely gone upon the format change, in 2017, the Deeks site and all its flash games were gone altogether. Now, typing Deeks.com into your browser just redirects to the Dairy Queen website. DXP. During the summer of 2017, Disney XD began airing video game content from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. This block was called DXP, and it wasn't a huge hit. Most of the people who didn't experience this block were exposed to it the same way I was, which is through Rebel Taxi's video on the subject, which I highly recommend. Many programs were either picked up from the internet, inspired by the internet, or were just esports. Some shows like Parker Plays still get aired in reruns every once in a while, but generally Disney has tried to bury most of this content. A good portion of it is lost, with archivists trying to at least maintain a little bit of it. And thanks to their efforts, most of what was lost is now found. One vs. 100, Xbox. Based on the game show of the same name, 1 vs. 100 was a free-to-play game, as long as the user had an Xbox Live Gold membership. The player could choose to be a single contestant or the other 100 players. The prizes for winning were actual Microsoft points, which could be spent to improve your Xbox Live account. The game wasn't played enough when it was around to justify the cost of maintaining it. As a result, the game is no longer playable after being discontinued in 2009. While a pre-release version has been leaked, the actual game is still lost, though the soundtrack to the game is out there. Flapjack Wedgie's Pilot. For those of us that remember the marvelous misadventures of Flapjack, it was certainly an interesting show. It, and a similar show airing on Cartoon Network at the time, Chowder, certainly shifted the tone of Cartoon Network's programming when they aired. However, with a lot of mystery surrounding it. The 2007 pilot was set to air on Wedgies, which was a Cartoon Network block at the time that showcased pilots in hopes they would become full-fledged shows, much like the similar Disney show from the era Shorty McShort Shorts. Only one show from Wedgies ended up getting its own show, which was obviously Flapjack, but for unknown reasons, Flapjack's planned Wedgies appearance never ended up actually happening, resulting in the pilot becoming lost, though a few clips can be found in a promo uploaded to YouTube, as well as the other Flapjack shorts set to air on Wedgies, which can be found in full on YouTube. Rose of Versailles. The Rose of Versailles was a manga adaptation from the late 70s and early 80s that lasted 40 episodes. It centers around a fictional account of the French Revolution, with Marie Antoinette and a royal guard being the main characters. At the time of its airing, certain local affiliate stations declined to air past the 23rd episode. To appease fans and not end the series on a cliffhanger, a separate episode wrapping up the story was made specifically to end the series in those regions. In all other areas, all 40 episodes aired and never saw this lost episode, and it was not included in any home media releases. Unless someone has a recording they made of the lost episode, it's unlikely to get leaked. A Twitter user did claim to have a VHS tape containing the episode, and even uploaded screenshots, but besides that, that's it.
Oh, come on.
Jefferson, you hired a co-host?
Hey, you want some jalapenos?
A girl. You hired a girl without even asking me, not even a hot girl.
Next Caller. Next Caller was a planned NBC comedy starring Dane Cook. The show was about a radio DJ who ends up getting a co-host, and he's not too happy about that. NBC ordered 6 episodes to be produced of the show, and they were to be aired sometime in 2012 or 2013. Only 4 episodes were produced before production abruptly stopped because NBC didn't like how it was turning out. Beyond this vague explanation, not much about the show's cancellation is known. The creator would go on to write a Tumblr post reflecting on this cancellation, but the actual show itself will most likely never air. There are clips available online, but nothing close to a full episode is available. And a full episode most likely never will surface unless Stephen Falk or NBC themselves release them. Pokemon Barboach vs. Whiscash. In 2004, an episode of Pokemon was postponed and then later cancelled. This was because the characters get caught in an earthquake caused by a Whiscash. The powers that be deemed this bad timing, as before this episode was set to air, the real-life Chuitsu earthquake happened, leading to 66 people dying. Regardless of the fact that it wasn't intentional, as this episode was produced before the earthquake happened, it was still deemed too insensitive to air, and thus the episode is lost. I haven't been able to actually verify if this is true, but it is notable that the attacks Earthquake and Fissure were never used again in the show. Spell Up. Spell Up was an experimental web game hosted by Google. The game was designed to understand speech recognition, as users would spell out a word dictated by the game to increase the height of their tower. The more words you spelled correctly, the higher your tower would go. The game, which was released in 2014, was delisted from the Chrome Web Store in 2017, and remained playable until 2017 when Google shut the game down. The game's website now redirects to Google's homepage. Though it is possible to get to the game's homepage through Wayback Machine, the game itself isn't playable through this method. All that remains of the game are a few screenshots. Sister Sonic. To localize the game Popful Mail to an American audience, Sega decided to reskin that game as Sister Sonic for the Sega CD. Popful Mail was a PC game in Japan, and did eventually get a proper release for the Sega CD, but not after backlash from fans. It was announced that a new RPG was planned to release entitled Sister Sonic, and after finding out it would be reskinning the release of Popful Mail, fans weren't too happy, eventually leading to Sega changing their mind and releasing Popful Mail in its original state. Obviously, because of this, the Sister Sonic reskin is lost. It's unknown how much of the game was finished before the decision was reversed. Agartha was a planned horror game for the Dreamcast, set to release in 1999 before being delayed, then delayed, and delayed, until being cancelled in 2001. The plot seemed rather complicated and relied on the player's choices between good and evil, and how those choices affected the story. As the Dreamcast became discontinued, the game was cancelled, and since development of the game struggled to make progress, time ran out before the Dreamcast was deemed a failure, and it wasn't like development could move to another console, since, as most people know, Sega never made another console after the Dreamcast. Aside from an E3 demo that's been dumped online, the finished game will never see the light of day most likely. U to U. U to U was a TV show that aired on Nickelodeon in the mid-1990s. The concept of the show was showcasing of user-generated content, which was a fairly revolutionary idea at the time. Viewers could send content through various means, such as fax and email, to be shown by the two hosts Ali Rivera as Sir Trone Starks. The show didn't seem to have focus and showed a diverse range of content, which, combined with the fact that a lot of viewers had a tough time grasping the complex concept of the show, it meant that they had a tough time retaining an audience. Supposedly, the show had 20 episodes, stretched out and aired between 1994 and 1996, and to this day, only 6 of the episodes survive. As well as the main series, the show also had a spin-off called U to U on the Road, which only aired 4 episodes. All 4 were lost the first time I talked about U to U, but have since been found.
She's so nice.
This is my long-lost baby.
She's so nuts.
Howdy do.
Reunite on UPN.
Reunited. Possibly one of the most obscure sitcoms in existence, Reunited was a show that aired on UPN in 1998. The show was about a woman who gets reunited with her birth mother after being put up for adoption 20 years later. The premise of the show is kind of mundane, and combining with the late time slot the show was placed in on UPN, it led to a Nielsen rating of 0.9, meaning the show only had about 900,000 viewers per episode. The ratings were so low that the show was cancelled after only 7 episodes, and after only 6 of them had aired. No footage from any of the episodes has survived, except for a couple of promos uploaded to YouTube. Gotham High. This was a planned DC animated series about Bruce Wayne attending the titular school as a teenager. The concept takes liberties with the idea that Bruce Wayne only encountered classic Batman villains and friends in his adulthood, with many of those classic characters being present in Gotham High. The series was based on the concept from one drawing of a young Joker and Harley Quinn by the creator Jeffrey Thomas. The show never materialized, for unknown reasons, though it's speculated that the similarities to shows like Teen Titans and the creation of Young Justice not long after Gotham High's inception were factors as to why it was never produced. Very little production material survives today, and it's unknown how much of it ever existed, though a graphic novel called Gotham High did release in 2020, which is believed to use a lot of the same elements as the planned TV series. SpongeBob Invader Pants and Krabs Army. Because of the second SpongeBob movie, production of Season 9 of the show was halted mid-season. 20 episodes were produced before the movie released, 19 of which aired before the movie released. The other 29 episodes of the season were produced and aired after the second movie. However, there were 2 episodes that seemed to fit into this timeline kind of weirdly. SpongeBob Invader Pants and Krabs Army were episodes supposedly produced before the second movie, and were even listed as upcoming episodes on the SpongeBob Wiki before being delisted with no explanation. The plots of both of these episodes were rather hard to come by. Neither episode had an official synopsis, and it later came out that these episodes were never finished and got scrapped when production of Season 9 resumed. As Vincent Waller confirmed, the episodes never got past the storyboard phase. They were most likely scrapped for quality control reasons, as Vincent also stated, "We didn't feel like they were worthy of your attention." This one picture of the storyboards for the SpongeBob Invader Pants has been floating around, but is pretty much useless since it's illegible. Super Bowl II. The second Super Bowl lives in infamy for its lost status, especially for it being as historically significant as it is. It was broadcast on CBS in 1968 and saw the Packers defeat the Raiders 33-14. Super Bowl II was notable for being the first Super Bowl to be only broadcast by one network, as the first Super Bowl was broadcast on both NBC and CBS, and it was the only one where this happened. The footage of the Super Bowl is lost in its entirety, as even a highlight video uploaded to YouTube was taken down by the NFL. It's been alleged that the NFL is trying to get footage restored of this event, but it still hasn't released to the public. And even if it were, it's likely some of the footage would still be missing. Aside from a few affiliates, fans didn't even get to see the end of the second quarter and the first few minutes of halftime. Even if the NFL still has a copy of the footage, it's unknown if those unbroadcast minutes would be in their possession. Bear Bryant, Sports Century. This was a documentary that aired on ESPN sometime in the early 2000s. When I originally wrote this entry, the full documentary was available on YouTube. The entry was originally only going to be about discrepancies between the full thing and an 8-minute snippet on YouTube. Since then, as in during the production of the original video where I talked about it, the full documentary in question did become lost. There hadn't been any mirrors of the documentary anywhere on the internet that I was able to find at the time. But it's been established that there are multiple versions of the documentary, with the 8-minute snippet having differences to the actual real documentary. The same version from the original upload was actually re-uploaded in better quality a few days ago by user Joshua Wiggins, so it's still unknown what the 8-minute snippet is from and why multiple versions were made. Mario and Sonic at the 2014 Winter Olympic Games, 3DS version. At this point, it's pretty well known that the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics series used to be a staple every 2 years, releasing for whatever the current Nintendo console was at the time. The 2014 edition, Mario and Sonic at the Sochi Winter Olympics, was the first game in the series to not have a handheld port, as all the previous entries in the series did have one. David Corliss, the at the time Sonic brand manager, gave a vague answer in an interview that could be interpreted as a 3DS version not being planned to release, opening up the possibility that there was once a 3DS version in development. Some evidence in favor of this being the case was a listing on the UK version of Amazon, and the fact that for the 2016 Olympics, that game did get a 3DS port. It's unlikely we'll ever get any kind of closure as to whether the 3DS version ever existed.
Can we talk a little bit about Mario and Sonic? A little bit? Huh? No? Okay.
Very good though. Should play it.
Yeah, I thought it was some confusion about whether or not there be a 3DS version, but
Why there's no 3DS version?
there's?
There isn't.
Isn't?
No.
Okay.
Bookworm Heroes. In April of 2013, PopCap released the final title in the Bookworm franchise for iOS. The game was called Bookworm Heroes, and it was a turn-based online multiplayer fighting game, where the object was to spell longer words to drain more health from your opponent. The game actually had multiple playable characters, which was a first for the franchise, and players could customize their strategies with different power-ups to go along with the strengths of each character. The game unfortunately never caught on and was taken off the App Store in 2014, and with it went any traces of the game. Obviously there isn't a playable version of the game, and the only people that could play it are people who had the game downloaded on their Apple devices. But even with that, there's a surprising lack of footage of the game online, as I was only able to find a couple of videos. Girl Crazy. This was a low-budget romantic comedy that was completed in 1994, but didn't air on HBO until 1997. And when I say low budget, I mean low budget. This film was made with only $55,000. The creator and star of the film, Richard Dutcher, admits that it wasn't very good, but considering the legacy this film has, it's weird that it's not talked about more. Richard Dutcher himself was a Mormon, and this film, beginning his filmmaking career, helped spawn the phenomenon of Mormon cinema, which is an interesting rabbit hole in and of itself. The film has kind of a bare-bones plot about a man who learned it's better to be committed to one woman than to sleep around. Since its 1997 showing on HBO Cinemax, not much of the film has been seen, with Dutcher claiming he wanted to release the film on DVD to show aspiring filmmakers what not to do, and planned to do so in either 2008 or 2009, which obviously didn't happen. There was a private screening of the film held by Dutcher in 2017 as part of a film class he held, but there has been no public release of the film. There's no footage of the film available as of today. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood. This game, during development, repeatedly changed names, but the title I just said is the most common one it goes by on the internet. GT Interactive and New Level Software planned and developed this game using the two titular Mike Judge characters for a 1991 release on the PS1. The game was previewed at E3 1998, and from the demo footage captured there, the game would involve controlling the characters in a 3D environment. Quite ambitious for a licensed game at the time. The game was to originally be released in November of that year, which came and went with no release. After conflicting reports in magazines, more information came out about the gameplay and puzzles within, but the release was delayed to February of 1999. That date passed by eventually with no news on any kind of release. It's unknown why the game was in such a state of flux. No materials besides a few screenshots and some footage of the E3 demo have been revealed.
It has been an honor to have served you for these past 8 years, but now I must say goodbye.
Governor, will you be returning to your life as a movie star?
No, Larry. I've had a great career, as you know, as a bodybuilder, as an actor, and as a politician. Now I'm going to be a private citizen once again. I won't be back.
The Governator. For some of the younger viewers watching out there, you may not know that Arnold Schwarzenegger was once the governor of California. He was in fact the last Republican governor of the state. After his governorship, a comic book and cartoon series called The Governator was planned, as after he left office, he planned to get back into the entertainment industry. After details of his affair came out in 2011, the series was cancelled. All that exists today is a trailer, and it's unknown how much more material exists or was even made in the first place. Hieroglyph. Hieroglyph was a planned Fox action-adventure series. The series was to take place in ancient Egypt and revolve around a thief's release from prison to become the slave of a pharaoh. Fox ordered 13 episodes in 2013 after the concept was pitched to the network. During production of these episodes, Fox abruptly canceled the project before any episodes had even aired. Rumor was the executive's vision rifted with the direction the production side of the show was going, and as a result, the series never got completed. To this day, no footage or scripts have been released to the public, except for a 1-minute long trailer that shows snippets of what little bit had been completed. Reportedly, only the pilot was ever finished, but it's nowhere to be found.
Well, congratulations, you have won. It's a year's subscription, all bad puns and a makeshift story of concern. And you set it up to see it burn. Opinions.
Opinion. 2 years ago in episode 12, I talked about this Kurt Cobain song. He supposedly performed it the night he wrote it for a radio station in Olympia, Washington. Until the 2015 release of the biopic Montage of Heck, that one performance was all that was believed to exist. But in that biopic, 12 seconds of a different recording of the same song could be heard, leading many to theorize about a possible lost demo, never heard about before publicly. But in April of this year, that lost demo was found. It was uploaded to YouTube by a user in a Facebook fan group for Nirvana. There is still believed to be a 12-minute version, but the main search was for the demo that played for 12 seconds in the biopic, which has been found. Drake and Josh widescreen episodes. Drake and Josh episodes in Season 1 were shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio. However, Seasons 2 to 4 have a complicated history of the format they're most commonly viewed in. Upon first airing, every episode of Drake and Josh aired in a 4:3 aspect ratio, as TV broadcasts were analog up until 2009. Since Drake and Josh ended in 2007, this means the opportunities to air Seasons 2 to 4 episodes in the 16:9 aspect ratio they were shot in were limited. It's theorized that Nickelodeon has widescreen versions of every episode from Seasons 2 to 4. The only problem is that they only air these in sporadic clips on their YouTube channels, and maybe occasionally in reruns. As of now, the only full episodes that exist in widescreen are from Season 4, with Season 2 and 3 only having certain clips in widescreen. Perhaps Nickelodeon will rerun every episode in widescreen, but until that day comes, we're stuck with just the clips available right now. Empire. Darman is known on YouTube for his awful attempts at heartwarming skits, but this wasn't his first attempt at entering the business world or the film world. Empire was Dar's attempt at film, combining with a business venture, and based on the title you could probably guess what that business was. The company, called WeGrow, would supply tools to people attempting to grow marijuana for medicinal purposes, and the lost pilot, Empire, was about this business venture. It's not clear whether this pilot was to be scripted or in more of a documentary style, as the synopsis isn't known beyond the fact that it was about the company WeGrow. Since the pilot was never turned into a TV show on network TV, no one in the general public ever got to see it, meaning it's been lost since 2011. Team Rocket versus Team Plasma. During the 5th generation of Pokemon, a 2-part episode was scheduled to air in March of 2011. The plot treaded territory that never really got its own focal episode up to that point, which was the evil teams fighting each other in a grand scale. These episodes were finished, but were postponed due to the 2011 natural disasters in Japan, and they never got around to airing them. This was possibly by design, but the plan was still to release the episodes internationally, but those episodes were never dubbed before officially being cancelled. Since the original plan was to air the episodes just delayed, it's unknown why the episodes were cancelled. Today, over a decade later, only a couple of screenshots survive, and the original script is available for your viewing pleasure if you ever wondered what the dialogue was supposed to be. Fishhooks pilot. In 2009, the pilot to the Disney series Fishhooks was produced by Alex Hirsch and William Reese. The pilot looks very similar to the final version, aside from some differences in character designs, and the title, which could have possibly been Fishtails originally. Only 5 seconds of footage has been found, from a Latin American promo. That footage is the only thing keeping the pilot from being completely lost. It is known that there is a copy in the Library of Congress, but the Library of Congress also lists the Fishhooks pilot as part of Shorty McShort shorts, which I guess was possible if they were planning another season or something like that. Unless Disney or the creators release the pilot themselves, it most likely won't be found. Shooting Star Milkshake Bar, full song. In episode 9 of this series, I talked about Shooting Star Milkshake Bar, which was a song from an episode of Phineas and Ferb. But in that episode, parts of the song were missing to keep the episode from going over the usual length of time. There were ways people found this out. For example, at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, during the Phineas and Ferb meet and greet event, the song could be heard in the background with additional verses. The instrumental to the song was also unlockable in a flash game on Disney XD's website, and it was longer than the version from the show. Eventually, in March of 2024, the full song with subtitles was uploaded to YouTube by user Charter School Girl.
At the speed of light, you know you're never too far from the meatiest meteor that you'll ever find. In this big old galactic void, you got to shake, 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 shake your asteroid. Shake, 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 shake your asteroid.
JonTron Lost Videos. Perhaps one of the most iconic YouTube creators, JonTron has had a very long and storied career. And even with his sparse upload schedule on his main channel, there was still some content of his that we never got to see. There are 3 videos that are either in production or fully produced that were never uploaded to his channel. One of which was his video about Disneyland-based video games, which got pretty far in production, with much of the footage being produced and assembled. John later stated that the project didn't turn out how he wanted it to, and so it was scrapped. Then there's a short clip of John holding a banana from an unknown video. It's unknown what the topic of this video would have been, or why it was never uploaded. And then there was a planned 2011 video titled Top 10 Mario Levels, where the number 10 and number 9 segments have been found thanks to John revealing them himself. But John has stated that the video isn't good, and that's why we haven't seen it. The Real Match Game Story, Behind the Blank. This documentary was completely lost for some time, as there was a YouTube upload in the mid-2010s that was the only copy of it available. It was later deleted, most likely for copyright reasons, but the documentary goes through the history of the show, complete with interviews with people involved. That is, if you can see them. The documentary was re-uploaded to YouTube and Internet Archive in terrible quality. Technically it is found, but not in any way you'd actually want to watch. The max quality is 240p, which is abysmal. For reference, the Porgy and Bess movie isn't considered lost because it's available in 480p. The search for a higher quality version of this documentary will be very tough, as it only aired on the Game Show Network a few times in the mid-2000s, and there doesn't seem to be much demand considering the fact that not many people know about this documentary's existence. Airmaster. Based on the decade-long running manga series of the same name, Airmaster was a series that had 27 episodes air throughout 2003. Toei planned to partner with Canadian company Geneon to release a DVD that would include an English dub of Airmaster in 2005. 3 of the 5 planned volumes of said DVD did release, and the other 2 volumes were caught in the crossfire of Geneon and Toei's divorce in 2006. This meant that the release status of the final 2 volumes of Airmaster in English were up in the air. The casting director has said that all the episodes did have an English version recorded, but obviously, the final 2 volumes worth of episodes are lost in English. Before Crisis, Final Fantasy VII. In 2004, this mobile game was released for the FOMA service in Japan. Obviously, from the name, it's clear that the story has ties to Final Fantasy VII and that the game was developed by Square Enix. The game was only available through a subscription service called Final Fantasy Mobile, which was of course only temporarily available. Surprisingly, the service lasted a long time, all the way to 2018 before being discontinued. As part of its discontinuation, games purchased as part of the service wouldn't even start up on phones that didn't delete them. This resulted in Before Crisis Final Fantasy VII becoming completely lost. Dubstep Solves Everything 4. One of Jack's film's most iconic series was the Dubstep Solves Everything trilogy, in which Jack plays out scenarios through music in the titular genre. These videos garnered a lot of views and were generally received quite well. The last in the trilogy aired March 11, 2013, but even then it wasn't always planned to just be a trilogy. A 4th installment was planned and was mentioned multiple times on Twitter, and Jack even mentioned in a video that it would be animated. Since it's been many years since the video was rumored, it's likely been scrapped, but it's unknown how far in production the video got.
Updates on Dubstep Solves Everything 4? Yes, the song is done. It's all up in my head, and I have to do that annoying process where I take it out of my head and put it on paper and then into speakers. But it's all done. It's just up here.
The Prussian Cur. This is a World War I propaganda film about a spy named Dick Gregory, and deals with espionage between the US and Germany during the First World War. At the time it came out, the film was not received well. It was generally seen as on the nose and did not hide its jingoism or make its messaging very subtle. Many releases of the film in its day were censored, and in general the movie was controversial. There does exist a few stills from the film, as well as some posters and other promotional material, but any actual copies of the film are nowhere to be found. Any of the ones that actually did exist were likely destroyed in the 1937 Fox Vault fire. GameMate Library. In the 1990s, after the success of the Game Boy, the handheld video game craze was in full effect. Some systems like the Game Gear were very successful in this. However, others, such as the Gamecom and GameMate, fell into obscurity. While the original manufacturer was Bitcorp, they eventually went bankrupt, and sold the rights to United Microelectronics Corporation. At this point, support for the GameMate was cut off for the most part outside of China. A good portion of the games for this system have been preserved, but some are still lost, and a sizable portion of the lost games are not even confirmed to actually exist. Complicating this even more is that the gray cartridges are different than the black ones, as they contain additional content. Empress Chung. Empress Chung was a 2005 Korean animated film based on a popular folktale in the region, about a girl sacrificing herself to cure her father's blindness. The film is known for receiving both a North and South Korean release, which is quite noteworthy. As well as this, the film also won many awards, which begs the question, how did this film become lost if it gained all this notoriety? Well, after the film released in theaters, no other official means of release happened, aside from supposedly getting a DVD release in North Korea, which, even if that did happen, tracking down a DVD and getting it in the hands of someone who could put it online would be a monumental task, given the difficulty of getting anything in or out of North Korea. Some trailers and concept materials exist online, but these are some of the only pieces of evidence supporting the existence of this film. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Campaign Mode. Some information was leaked about Black Ops 4 recently. The game was panned by some for not featuring a campaign mode. This actually wasn't the original plan though, and there's some evidence to suggest it got scrapped pretty late in development. There was actually quite a huge leak of concept art. According to IGN, the story would take place in 2070, and players would choose to fight for either the World United Nations or the Free People's Army. There were apparently different plot threads and possibilities for the story, resulting in small decisions having a massive impact on the ending, as well as DLC planned to release later on. Treyarch eventually scrapped the campaign out of fear that such an ambitious project would delay release, and as such, the concept materials are the only materials left from this game mode. Gibby Pilot. Gibby was a planned spin-off of the popular Nickelodeon sitcom iCarly. The premise involved the titular character mentoring a group of middle schoolers and hanging out with them at a local rec center. Believe it or not, this pilot was already an entry in the original video's script early on, so early in fact that it became found during the production of that video. For a while, only a few screenshots, production stills, and pages of the pilot script were found, but during the week that I had uploaded that original video that I talked about it in, it was actually found and uploaded to Internet Archive by Yoshikiller. It's unclear how the full pilot was found. Logan Cruz. Countdown YouTubers have been a staple of this site since practically the beginning. I should know, I basically am one. Logan Cruz was no exception. With his witty humor and insightful opinions, he mostly made music countdowns before either the termination or deletion of his channel, most likely due to copyright issues, as anyone who's tried to walk the tightrope of talking about music on YouTube is familiar with. While a lot of his videos have been archived, one rather infamous one, Top 25 Worst YouTubers, notably hasn't. There's an archive of Logan's commentary of that video, but because it has him talking over it, I wouldn't necessarily say the video is actually found. Hell's Kitchen JR footage. During Season 3 of Hell's Kitchen, 12 competitors were against each other to win a prestigious head chef job at a Nevada resort. However, there were originally 13 competitors in that season, as the editors did their best to scrub a contestant by the name of JR from the first episode of the season. However, he can be seen in certain frames from the Signature Dish Challenge. As well as this, there are 13 trays shown in the Signature Dish Challenge, but only 12 of them are shown to be criticized by Gordon Ramsay. What happened was that JR had spread false rumors about one contestant having an affair with her boss. And as well as this, JR is believed to have leaked personal information about the other competitor. Obviously, since these rumors were slanderous and now someone outside the contestant pool was involved, he violated the NDA, leading to his scrubbing from the show. Since the nature of his infractions were more serious, he was eliminated during the Signature Dish Challenge, and his footage, if there is any, is obviously withheld to most likely never see a public release. 21. In this game show, there were two contestants, the returning champion and the challenger, who would enter booths and put on pairs of headphones, taking turns being able to hear the host and answering trivia questions. The goal of the game was to reach 21 points, and the point value of questions was determined by difficulty, with harder questions being worth more points. The game only stopped prior to 5 rounds if one contestant wanted that to happen, at which point the contestant that asked to stop the game would automatically lose. Winners won $500 per point of margin over their opponent. One contestant, who kept winning more than the production crew and corporate sponsor liked, had a game rigged against him, resulting in a cheating scandal, with the show being cancelled not long after. If you're interested in learning more about the scandal, I suggest watching the movie Quiz Show, which is based on it. It's an excellent movie. But back to the game show itself. It had a rather tragic history after the scandal. The two creators didn't work together again until almost 20 years after 21's cancellation, and due to the common network tape wiping practices at the time, a majority of the episodes are lost.
Download the NBA Elite 11 demo. Play the full fourth quarter of Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
NBA Elite 11. In 2010, EA decided to make some changes to its NBA Live series, more than would be expected for the typical yearly installments. To reflect this, the series was planned to be renamed NBA Elite. However, this game was delayed and eventually cancelled due to quality reasons. Some copies of the game did make their way to the public, but were incredibly rare, selling for up to and beyond $25,000. And this was until both the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of the game were both independently found and dumped. What was once a very rare game is now easily accessible.
Yeah, that Turn On was a show that George Schlatter thought was going to be hysterical. And it kind of was, but it was way ahead of its time. I'm not sure, even if you saw it today, that maybe that time has also passed. We did the show. It came on a Tuesday night, I think, or something like that. It aired first in New York, and we had a opening party out here at a hotel, and we were waiting for the reviews. As it came across the country, it was being canceled. It got canceled in New York, and when it got to Ohio, they shut it off after 15 minutes. I mean, they didn't even let it go the whole half hour.
Turn On. Way back in the very first episode of my Lost Media series, I mentioned Turn On, which was a show that did not do well upon initial airing. It was canceled as soon as it aired pretty much, unanimously across the country. The show was a minimalist sketch show that employed the use of religious and political satire, and audiences at the time did not like it. While the innovation within, including early use of motion capture, didn't save it. Since it aired all the way back in the 60s, it's been lost, with short clips of footage being the only things found. But the 2 episodes produced were released officially on YouTube by George Schlatter. Didn't expect to see it happen, but it's nice that it did. Class of 96. Class of 96 was a teen drama that aired on Fox in 1993. It followed the lives of 7 students at a fictional Ivy League university. And had it stayed on the air as planned, it would have ended in 1996 with the students graduating. The first time I spoke about this series, I mentioned how many episodes were lost due to the show's fight for some kind of stability with its time slot, ultimately leading to low ratings, the show's cancellation, and eventual obscurity. At the time, only the first 5 episodes were found, but the day after I uploaded that video, more episodes of the show were found. And over a year ago, it's amazing that it's been that long, the entire show became found. So now you can watch every episode of Class of 96. Late Kick, the independent episodes. Josh Pate's college football show used to be called Late Kick, and before his employment by 24/7 Sports and the larger CBS ecosystem, he worked for a local news station in Columbus, Georgia. While some of the independent episodes of Late Kick are available due to being archived on Facebook, there was a period in 2019 where the show moved to YouTube, and all episodes from this time have been privated with no explanation. In an email correspondence from 2020, Josh said that he planned to do something with the old channel those episodes were on. 4 years later, and this did not happen. 2 years ago, I met Josh personally and asked him, and he said he might do something, but this did not happen. All these years later, there's been no update on the lost private episodes, though there is a single 8-minute clip left on that old YouTube channel.
In headlights, he's staring off into the distance because he knows what's about to happen. He knows, in all likelihood, he just coached his last game at LSU. That's not what stuck with me the most. What stuck with me the most was his wife leaned over on one of those wrought iron gates there that surround Jordan-Hare Stadium, Pat Dye Field, and she couldn't even look at him. She had her back to him, and she couldn't bear to watch it because she knew, just like he knew, what was about to happen.
Uncle Walt. This 1964 film was an unauthorized short film made by Robert Swarth. The film made use of Disney characters in inappropriate situations, such as Mickey and Minnie Mouse in racist caricatures, and Goofy working in a red light district, among various other things. This film was expected to be one of those things you always hear about but never gets released. But then, in 2024 there started to be hope. Since the big news about the public domain hit, well, the public, a release was announced and planned to happen, thanks to Thunderbean Animation. For undisclosed reasons, this never happened. In August, a listing of the film popped up on eBay and was sold, but it's unknown what its release status is from there. Everyone knows that. This song holds a special place in my heart, as it ballooned to be quite a large search, and to my knowledge, I was the first Lost Media YouTuber to talk about it on their channel. All the way back in January of 2023, all we knew back then was that there was 17 seconds of this song available. No one knew the exact title, the artist, the country of origin, or really anything besides the fact that 17 seconds were available. That was, until earlier this year. The actual song is titled Ulterior Motives, and it was recorded by Christopher and Philip Booth in 1986 for, get this, a porno. No joke. And now, since the whole song has been found, it's still in low quality, and everything besides the 17 seconds that were already found is covered up by sex noises, so it's not really something you'd want to listen to, but it is technically found. Around the mid-2010s, the trend of Lost Media videos really started to pick up. Hell, you could probably say that most of us that are here now probably wouldn't be here if that never happened. Because Lost Media content on YouTube has been around as long as it has, at this point it should be no surprise that some YouTube content around Lost Media has become, well, lost. It's even happened on this very channel. Probably the most famous story of this happening was the YouTuber ShroomTube, who made a series called Lost Media Fridays, which later changed to being called Lost Media Mondays. Every week he would cover a different piece of Lost Media, which is how the show got its name, obviously. Behind the scenes, however, there were some blockages, to the point that ShroomTube deleted not just his channel, but his entire social media presence altogether. I feel it would probably be disrespectful to speculate on why this happened, so I won't go into it. But this man was an inspiration to a lot of creators, myself included, so I hope he's doing well now. Some mirrors of a few episodes of his show have been uploaded to YouTube, but the full series has yet to be recovered. Online Nation. This show has had quite the turbulent history in Lost Media. For those that don't know, this show had 8 episodes, with only 4 of them being released. It starred Rhett and Link along with 2 other hosts and them showcasing viral videos. The show released on CW in 2007, and that fact alone might just be why it was unsuccessful. In the times I've talked about this show, the episodes have been lost, and found again, thanks to the original uploader's channel being deleted. And even Rhett and Link themselves have shown clips from the unreleased episodes on Good Mythical Morning, complete with reenactment. It's been a while and we're still not done, since the unreleased episodes are still lost.
But
this is stuff I haven't seen.
I know
since we
that there was
recorded it.
8 episodes that I gave to the crew.
Well,
which
we
means there's-
recorded 8 episodes, but 4 of them made it on television, and the show was canceled.
Equals 3. This one is actually quite sentimental to me. This was the first Lost Media search where I was involved and actually had some decent findings. I found about 7 episodes in the fall of 2020, and from there, I became more and more involved with Lost Media in general. Since these episodes were from 2009, this was no easy task. I mean, if you want the final boss version of this search, just try to look for episodes of his older show, Capitol Hill Gangsta. Equals 3, as a show that reviews viral videos, copyright claiming the first 2 uploads of episode 1 will never not be funny to me, as if they can't see the irony. But, whatever. We've made massive gains here anyway, as only 3 of the hundreds upon hundreds of episodes of this show are lost. Thank you all for watching and supporting me through 50 episodes. I hope I get to do many, many more.